You're about to witness probably the craziest Zwift race I've ever done. Missed the start, dropped on the first climb, some ethically dubious riding to catch back on, and then, well, I think I summarise it best at the end of the race.
Biggest comeback since Lazarus.
Let's get into it. I missed the start to this race because my wife made a massive Sunday roast chicken dinner, as it happens, quite appropriately, and then I had to take the dog for a walk. So when the race started, I had to sprint right at the start to rejoin the pack. I couldn't record that because obviously I was just desperately trying to get on to the race, but I did eventually rejoin the pack. But I was already feeling knackered by this stage. It's only 1 kilometre into the race. The race is the Jurassic Coast. It's stage 3 of the Rolling with MV Z Racing series for September 2025, and I've been on a terrible run of form really. I haven't run a race with more than 3 riders in it for at least 3 months. Used to win every week, but now can't buy a win. The course takes the southbound way through Titans Grove, and that means doing the Titans reverse climb after all these rollers and a descent, and then it heads out down the southern coast road and ends on the Sasquatch Sprint, I think it's called. I had done this race a couple of days earlier and I just managed to make it over the climb, but by the time the finish came, didn't have much of a sprint, kind of messed it up and didn't get anywhere. Now traditionally the rollers in Titans Grove give me a bit of an advantage. Being an experienced rider, I really know how to minimise my effort over these rollers. The key really is to be at the back, at the bottom, so where the speed is high and the draft is highest because you've got the speed from the descent. Then as you go into the little ascents, you've got the maximum amount of draft to minimise the amount of time that you need to be pushing up the hill. You push up over the hill, maintain it a bit on the plateau, and then you get the maximum draft going into it. This is a bit of an extended one, so I'm getting lots of draft all this way up, so I'll be doing about 1 watt per kilogram less than all of my opponents, particularly at the bottom bit. As it gets steeper and slower here, the difference is less, so I'm even making my way forward because then I can come off earlier and get the rest on the way down. So really let off here on the down and then start pushing, but I can start pushing later and with less ferocity and still keep up with the front. No one really makes a big effort to get away here, little digs here and there, but if you're going to get away on the rollers, which isn't generally a good idea anyway, then you probably need to go a lot earlier because there's a big descent coming. So very relaxed, perhaps even a little too relaxed going into this descent into the last big roller. Really had to put down a little bit more power than I would have liked, as the front are just getting a little bit away. Crucial to be in the draft for the big descent, so just make my way forward through the group as we approach the brow of this roller here. Kind of flattens off at the top quite significantly, back into perfect position as I've been throughout most of this Titans Grove so far. The race does get exciting soon. I just thought I'd do a bit about the rollers. Titanium Ben Pitt has been talking about it, so I just thought I'd put my view forward. I have got steering, which is helpful for this race, and I use that to cut some of these corners, but at good position going into the descent. Someone's making a bit of an effort, which is not the greatest time going into this dip. Speeds are exceptionally high, very hard to get away from the group, and everyone's in his draft already, and the group will naturally concertina back together at the bottom. Just dropped off a little bit there, but still getting hundreds of watts worth of draft. And as I say, quite often you see this concertina effect as you hit the bottom of a climb. The riders at the front get a massive amount of wind in their face, and those at the back, because of the high speeds, get a huge draft benefit. So here we go into Titan's reverse proper. I'm definitely feeling the effects of that early sprint and the Titan's climb that we've done so far, but hopeful that I can make it over again. In fairly good position here, just staying behind the chasing pack. I didn't have any hopes of winning this race in my mind, just wanted to stay with the front group all the way again, and they just start to get, little groups start to get away here. Just behind Amon from HCT, he bridges over and I almost catch his wheel, and really feeling the effects here, starting to give up mentally, don't think I can hold this much longer, hopefully the pace will drop down a bit, and started to think back to when I used to be able to sprint up this bit. I used to be able to sprint up here, near the 800 watts at the top I used to be able to do, but those days are long gone, and I do give up, I do crack, and the group goes away. It was a bit of a pathetic effort, really. I don't know if my heart was really in it, if I was feeling it from the sprint that I had to do to get back on at the start. But away they go, and my only hope now to avoid a very lonely ride home is to catch on to this small group of currently 4 behind us. But one of them rides straight past me, Alberet, but there's another French rider who's coming up fast, Martin, and as Martin comes into view, he will become my saviour. Hallelujah. But I'm already at rock bottom. Can I dig deep just to grab his wheel as he goes over with a second gap on me? Head goes down, he moves away. Can I get the arrow? So no, a feather. Do I use it here on this slight little rise? No. Try and cut every corner, remove every centimetre between him and I. But it just seems out of reach, so tantalisingly close. Making up a little bit of ground there as I cut another corner. Nearly got him, but he keeps putting down the power. He does not want any company for this descent. He's doing 5 watts per kilogram. I just can't do that. And I almost give up. One little flatter bit here. Make up a bit of ground by putting down the power at the right time. Nearly got him. And I think finally I take his draft. At last I can stop pedalling on the descent. Crucially, Martin keeps the power down, keeps pedalling all the way down this descent really, and he keeps the gap from growing. It was up to 12 seconds at one stage and now it's down to 9, and he just keeps the power down and keeps bringing them back a bit really. Gap sort of hovering around 9 seconds, occasionally down to 8, and I had seen in the past people catch back on this bump at the bottom of this main part of the descent, and he uses his feather. That's good for me, not great for him I wouldn't say, but given it's only a 1% little gradient there, but that helps bring the gap down to 7 seconds. I'm still not doing much work, still resting, steeling myself now. Definitely got the idea that I'm going to use the feather on this bump and try and bridge the gap. Dropping Martin in the process after he's done all the work. Don't know how ethical that is. You decide. Let me know in the comments. Did I do something terrible here? Let Martin do all the work down the descent, and then as soon as the opportunity arises on the steeper section, pushes up the power, uses the feather, see them in the distance, in the fog, like sirens on the rocks, calling me to them with their glowing song. Push down the power, don't quite get to them on the first bump, so I'm gonna have to rest a bit. Short descent, push again hard whilst the feather's still active. Can I make it up to them? Oh, there's only a little bit more gradient to go. And yes, I think I've got them. I'm like a wily old rider. Come off the power so I don't power through them and hit the front. And I've made it! I've made it back onto the group! We've got a race! All of this next bit just goes like a dream for me, really. Get some nice recovery on these rollers. Someone goes off the front and everyone starts chasing down the descent. But the amount of additional work I have to do sitting at the back is absolutely minimal. Just rolling over these rollers, really, taking all this draft at this super speed, very little effort to keep on, and crucially the guys at the front are doing additional work, so when it does come to the climbs remaining on the Southern Coast Road, they will have expended more energy. But just look at the speeds now, 50 kilometers per hour. I'm doing less than 200 watts quite consistently, and maybe just dropped off the pace there, so I'll just close that gap. There's Albury, my old chum from the top of the com, and this guy off the front, I think it's Rick. He keeps putting down the power and people keep chasing him back. That's all great for me, especially at this kind of speed. They're using up energy, I'm not. That is absolutely perfect. And as we come to the first climb on the Southern Coast Road, we pretty much wrap Rick back up into the fold, and we approach the climb past the Crab Shack, I think it is, and yep, there's Rick up ahead. Good effort, but not the best timed. And come up this climb, nothing too dramatic really. I was expecting more, so I put down a bit too much power, but yeah, all that chasing and leading has taken the wind from their sails, I would say. But that's good for me. I need to use the least energy possible. I didn't mention, but I actually did this race with the lowest power in virtually every category against virtually every racer. So from 20 minutes to 15-second power, I was the lowest in the top 10, I think, and I think the lowest overall for many of them. So it's an efficient, and when you see how the race ends, that is doubly remarkable, really. And yeah, there's not much going on here. Low power, down a little descent, don't need to pedal much. I'm even moving forward, doing only 2 watts per kilo. Just being pushed out here by the steering, so come off the power even further, and that enables, now you can't just push into the group. As you can see, that there was that little red thing appearing showing that I can't steer any further. So all you need to do in that situation, especially here where I don't need to be in the meat of the pack, just come off the power a bit more, and Zwift will allow you to pull back in when you're further behind. So just another little tip there from a wily old energy saver. And as we crest this hill, that was just a dream, about as easy as you could possibly hope for, really. Now my thoughts turn to the finish. I haven't run a sprint finish in probably over a year, especially against a group of more than 4, let's say. So I desperately want to pick up a win again, but I've got the lowest power, the lowest 5-minute power, the lowest 20-minute power, the lowest 1-minute power, but I don't want to go down without at least trying something. think back to some of those great breakaways that I've done in the past. Taking on and beating the great Thomas Sorensen on Box Hill. I'd almost forgotten about that, but I bet he hasn't. And this next climb goes very much the same way. Keep expecting people to push. There's a bit of action, but nothing that a bit of draft and some moderate efforts can't snuff out. Maybe they're all shattered. Maybe they overexerted themselves on the com. Maybe they used every last match to bring back Rick. So the thoughts of a breakaway come to my mind again. But I'm too old. I'm too tired. I haven't got the power I once did. But I once did do a breakaway here with my old friend Taylor Zwift. Same finish. There's one more climb to go after this descent, and previously we went just towards the top of it. Just took the draft on the lower part of the climb. Relatively easy, and then got lucky towards the top because someone made an effort ahead, so I got their draft and it looked like I was just trying to chase them down, but I had no intention of just chasing them down. Make a break for it. Taylor comes along and I was trying to get the win for him, but as it turns out I accidentally won. But let's see, sometimes I let the power-up gods decide whether I'm going to go for a breakaway, but really the feather or the arrow are both good for this breakaway, and I've decided I'm going to go for it. I owe it to myself. I owe it to Martin, god damn it. He put in all that effort for me. I would need to make the best of it. Lots of feathers going off early, but I need to save mine for my breakaway attempt. What's the worst that can happen? They catch me. Big deal. I lose. I come 20th or whatever. Doesn't matter. But there we go. Towards the top of the hill. Maybe a little bit further than I did previously. No, probably about the same. Not quite the same power that I used to have, but enough to get a little bit of a gap. And as I come down the hill, keep the power down a little bit. But I'm 4.2 kilometers from the finish. That's going to be around 6 minutes riding, I suppose. And as I mentioned, I have the lowest 5-minute power of any of these riders. So I hit it hard again on the next bump, and the gap grows to 4 seconds. Now this is a real quandary for me. I've got the gap now growing to 5 seconds. I need a good breakaway. You need to front end your effort. Get the gap as unbridgeable as possible, as early as possible. Make it look like you're going to win by a mile, and it's utterly pointless for anyone to even try to chase. But no one's putting out big numbers at the front. I'm ahead of them really in numbers terms for most of this time. This dirt rider comes to the front but doesn't really hold significant power for a great length of time. Christiansen has a little dig and then comes off the power, so I can take these little rests on the descent without the gap becoming bridgeable again, and then when the gradient goes up again, put down the power. And it really is a long way for me. My 5-minute power at the moment at best is about 4.1. In fact, I got demoted to C category after this race. Base category went from B to C, possibly because I set some new power levels or something, which, I don't know, in their weird formula makes me less good by doing a new best 5-minute power, which was only 4.0, and this is it's a range 1 ZRS ride, which is, I think 570 to 650 ZRS. So these are really Bs on the whole. They're Bs, maybe some As in there as well. But I did definitely have the lowest 5-minute power. But the gap just grows. The Dirt Rider again on the front, but not really pushing it. But I guess I can do 4.0. But the best use of my power, what little power I have, is to use it on the little ascents when essentially trying to keep the speed constant as much as anything. So cruise down the descents somewhere between the 40 and 42 kilometers per hour range is what I ideally be looking for. Obviously when it gets really steep I won't be able to keep that up, and on the descents I might go a bit faster, but essentially I don't want to be putting down power. Air resistance increases exponentially as you get faster, so get far less bang for your buck trying to go at 45 kilometers per hour down a hill. You may as well just cruise it. You see how I'm going down the descent and my speed has actually dropped because my power's dropped so much. And then when it comes to the short bumps, you might even see my power increase, my speed increasing. But so much about breakaway is about psychology. Each one of these riders individually could catch me on their own. They have far superior 5-minute power, but none of them want to bring back the other riders and let them take the win. And my own psychology, all over the place. I need to get up the power. I need to up the power. I need to up the speed. I need to increase the gap. But on the other hand, I need some rest. I need some rest so I can tackle the final bump. And I cut every corner that I possibly can. But yeah, the psychology of this is so important. Like, approaching this bit here, the flamme rouge, the virtual flamme rouge that I go under now, I'm thinking, right, I need to get up. I need to get some speed up. I've only got 1 minute left of riding. I need to get the speed up for the descent. Oh, but I also need some rest for the descent. So my power's up and down like a bride's nightie, and I don't know what to do. So I'm up, I'm down, right, I'm down. Oh no, I need to get some speed up for the descent. Right, so I put in a little bit of power approaching the descent, and that's probably best. But these gaps, they never seem big enough. It doesn't matter how big the gap is. I was like 100% sure they were all going to swarm past me at this stage. I was like, that's not enough. This hill's going to kill me. I'm gonna come to a stop on the final ascent, and they're all going to swarm past me. But just managed to put out some power at the bottom. Not massive numbers, I admit, but at last the belief grows. I'm gonna do it at last. I'm gonna get a win. I'm finally gonna win against a big group.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Kaboom! That is how you do it. Oh my god. 3.1.
I really enjoyed that race, and I hope you did too. So do all the like and clicky things, because I've put loads of time into bloody editing this. But yeah, I really did use the least power of all the riders in the race across all intervals, 20 minutes through to 15 seconds. Well, not quite all, but pretty much all. And it just goes to show that, a bit of guile, bit of bravery, be brave, be bold, go for it, but most of all, have fun. And I will see you anon.
Biggest comeback since Lazarus. Kaboom. I just can't go. Let me go. Oh my god.